So last week I introduced this metaphor of a dashboard to monitor how well our lives are going. And I leaned into the kinds of measures a lot that you might find on your car dashboard, but I did mention that there's a lot of other kinds. This is a very big idea now. And what I find is like every time I'm logging into a program on my computer now, there's probably a dashboard coming up. This prevalence of dashboards everywhere is because we recognize that it's very important to monitor and measure those things that are important to whether our system is working well. Whether that's a car or a plane, there was something about learning to fly there today, and I thought, ooh, they've got all kinds of fun altimeters and height. I should use that somewhere along the line. But we need to know how these systems are working, and most important, we need to pay attention to the information we're getting about how these systems are working. And then I also told you that the reason for this month's theme, healthy, wealthy, wise, and loved, this actually goes back many, many years for me. And it's something I have found to be true still. And that is that most of the things in our lives, and particularly those things that are going to come to ministers and practitioners for prayer work, fall into one of four categories. And whether they're woes or their challenges, their desires or their dreams, they're going to fall primarily in one of these four realms. So, health, okay, our physical and our mental health, our vitality, our energy, our ability to move ourselves in the world. Our wealth, well, that's really our resources. It's everything we have at hand to help us reach our needs and desires. And we call it wealth, and we think about money, but it is so much more than money. Guidance, we need guidance to make right decisions, to choose our best paths. And that is our wisdom. That is the wise in this theme this month. And then there's that big vat of relationships, right? So much of our lives is relationships. And I call it loved. And of course, we really hope this is true, that we are being loved and feeling loved in this world, and also that we are helping spread and let that feeling out to others. Now, relationships, of course, they cover everybody from our romantic partners to our family and our friends, out there to our acquaintances, and into the entire world. And if any of you question whether we have a reason to love and be concerned with the welfare of everyone everywhere in the world, we just had the MV Hondius this week, or Hondius. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. Everybody know what I'm talking about? There's a ship. A hantavirus got loose on the ship. We actually physically saw this ship. We shared an area of Antarctica when we were down there in mid-March. I laid eyes on it, looked it up, checked it out. Who's that going by us or sitting out there in front of us? When something like that happens, we have learned it is important. Those people are important to us, whether we know them or not, and we have all become very concerned. Are they getting the care they need? Are they getting where they need to be? Are we being protected from what's happening to them? So never forget that we are all one, and it's all happening within our own experience. And we talked a bit about how even if an issue fits mainly into one of these main categories, they wind up touching each other, don't they? Right? We may make health decisions based on our wealth situation. We may not go to something we should do early on. We talked about that last week. Health events, if they reach the certain stages, may affect our wealth situation. Relationships are going to ease or complicate all of those other areas. And inner guidance is especially critical to us when there's a crisis in one of the other areas. So this week, what I want to do is build on this idea by thinking in terms of troubleshooting. If you've ever looked at your car owner's manual or your appliances manual or pretty much any of the gadgets and gizmos that you come home with these days, there's a little booklet about how to get started and things to do. There may be preventive maintenance, and then there's a great big section on troubleshooting. Troubleshooting, what to do when things are not working the way you want them to or not working at all. And this tells you what to do if it's out of kilter in any way, and it usually starts with some really basic level. Like, well, is it plugged in? Is there power to the outlet that you plugged it into? Did you turn on the on switch? Did you press the button, flip the toggle, turn the key? really sounds simple, but if you think about it, I bet you could remember some times in your life when you have expected a result when you had not done the basic setup work. You forgot to ever hit the on switch, right? Ever been sitting on the couch, for instance, and you get a little thirsty? And there's probably a simple solution to this little error code, but you try to find a way around getting your butt off the couch, right? Maybe there's somebody else here that would bring me something. Maybe should I just do DoorDash? Do I want a milkshake? What do I need, right? The manual would just say, well, go get a drink of water. Now, the other thing we can do if we skip the simple is we can catastrophize most anything. Maybe I've got diabetes and that's why my throat is dry. And now you might take lots of time to go down that path rather than just check the manual and say, well, go get some water and check back with me if you still got troubles after that, right? But pretty quickly, our troubleshooting is going to escalate up to what to do when these lights and these codes come to us and what they might need. And last week, I was giving a lot of outer world examples on things. Here we are at a spiritual center, and I'm talking about all this outer stuff. But you know what? That's okay. Because this is where we live. We live here in this world of experiences, in this manifest, dense form of spirit. This is where we have the experiences that we are navigating through. This is where the things that are not our capital T truth, are not the truth of our spiritual nature, show up. And why are they here? Why do we do this experience? Well, resistance helps build things sometimes, right? We can build our spiritual muscles by dealing with how our spiritual nature interacts with this world. We fill up our spiritual bank accounts by how we deal in things and how we think about the world. And this is where we discover the true nature of our inner knowing. I kind of think of this almost like fish. A fish does not know that it lives in its perfect environment. If they had language, they might not even have a word for it, right? And yet it's absolutely necessary. It's the perfect place for them, and everything they need is there. Until they get out of it, they don't recognize it. And until we start seeing what the world is doing when we're not paying attention to this inner knowing, maybe we aren't aware of it. How would we recognize the depth and the magnitude of who we truly are if we never saw how things look when we've forgotten who we are and that we have this knowing? Let's think about that. How would we know how wonderful we are if we never needed to exercise the wonderful being and knowledge that we have? In that realm of understanding the spiritual with concrete examples, I want to touch back on something I spent a little bit of time with last week, which is this inner version of GPS. So let's call it our guidance perception system, or our God perception system, if you prefer, because that's really kind of the same thing. Like the ones in our cars or on our phones, wherever we do our reference, this guidance system is ready and waiting at all times, just there. Use me. Here I am. All we have to do is ask. All we have to do is ask. We can take the advice it gives, or we can not take the advice it gives. This thing it's a storehouse of data, and it's being constantly updated. It knows way more than I know about what's going on the roads right this minute. And it's the same storehouse of data. This massive amount of data exists no matter where I am. It works overseas. It works everywhere I'm going. It's updating constantly. It knows what I'm running into when I get there. We can deviate off the track that it's laid out for us. And those were choices, right? We could choose. Do you want to go fast and pay tolls? Do you want to go slower and go for free? Do you want to wind? Do you want to avoid anything in particular? Do you want to avoid highways? Stay off of those? I'll take you where you're trying to go any way you prefer. And then if you get off that route, I'll show you the way back on with no judgment, no comment, not even recalculating anymore, no judgment at all, just the new directions. So we can take it, we can leave it, we can follow it directly where do we want to go. It's this fabulous system. I know with my global positioning system, now that's one that's in the car and on the phone, global, that's what that G really stands for there. I tend to use it only when I'm in unknown territory or in a really complicated situation or a place I haven't been recently. I don't tend to use it when I'm doing my normal everyday rounds. Although I have found if I will, it may know that traffic is jammed on I-4 and I might want to go around. It knows things I don't know, even on these basic, daily, seems like I know my way around situations. Do you handle yours that way? Yeah, anybody else? Do you do the same with your guidance perception system? Do you call on it all the time or only when you really feel challenged? There's one thing that we say is that we have trouble even knowing what we would pray or treat or ask our inner knowing about. I decided I was going to bring with me today, I could put this in the paper, but this is my textbook. I have fancier ones, right, gold edge and all that kind of stuff. This is the one I got in 1984. It's got kind of cracked spine. Yeah, you see it's coming apart in there. It's marked up. It's not totally rainbowed yet, but it's marked up. And it's interesting because when I have a digital version of this. Anybody that missed getting a digital copy of this, which is kind of a spiritual owner's manual, for $4.99, I sent out the message when I saw it, $4.99, the whole textbook. And you can search it. And when I searched, it was interesting because the two places I decided to look already had these little yellow tabs on them. When I looked under the word guidance, interesting that they were already tabbed for me. I'm going to read this. This is from the general summary. If one does not know exactly what he wishes to do, he should treat himself, and of course, Ernest wasn't gender neutral, so it's all going to be he's. He should treat himself for general success in whatever he attempts to do. He must treat himself for guidance into the knowledge of that which would be best for him to do, remembering that the inner mind knows infinitely more than the intellect. It knows how to take ideas and form objective circumstances around them. Naturally, the sooner we know just what we wish to do, the quicker we shall create mental images that are definite in the creative mind, and it can more quickly set to work to carry out the plans for us. Well, that sounds a lot like using a GPS, doesn't it? I don't know where I want to go today. Well, treat to know where the best place to go is. And then you can make a plan to go there, right? We don't have to not use it because we're not sure about the end point. We can just work our way through and ask. And so then I thought, well, gosh, what are the other yellow markers for? Let's go see. And lo and behold, there's guidance again. So maybe when all is well and normal, right? This sounds so much like a GPS, like the global kind. There is a law of unfoldment in man which says he can advance only by going where he is to the place where he would like to be. Wow. This is not because the law is limited, but because it is law. A man unfolds in his mentality. The law automatically reacts to him, right? I set my GPS, it reacts. The way to work is to begin right where we are, because where else could we start? Right where we are, and through constantly applying ourselves to the truth, we gradually increase in wisdom and understanding. For then this way alone will good results be obtained. If, day by day, we have a greater understanding and a clearer concept, if daily we are realizing more of truth and applying it in our actions, then we are on the right path. And eventually we shall be made free. It is a wonderful experiment and a great adventure to make conscious use of the law, to feel that we can plant an idea in mind and see it gradually take form. And speaking of planting, last month was the creative process, right? We plant thoughts. Okay. So along these same lines, I want to say, so this GPS, this ability to perceive guidance are good. It's a good troubleshooting guide for all of our other areas, right? So we spent a lot of time on guidance. Why? Why did I start with that? Why do I want to spend the time? Well, think about this. If you need to know something more about something you're experiencing in your body, it needs attention. That's kind of a warning light or an error code. You want to know what it means. I'm not going to stand up here and try to tell you. My troubleshooting job today is not to say, now, if you have this specific problem, go do this thing in the outer world. You have the inner knowing. Ask for guidance on your decision to ask. Ask for guidance about perfect partners in whatever this is, for phone numbers, for advertisements that lead you to where you need to be, for advice from friends that have walked the same path. And let me tell you, if you ever find something wrong with you and you think you're the only one in the world, just announce it, and you'll find out half the people you know have been there themselves. It's amazing to me. A big trick, though, for us is to notice the guidance when it shows up. It comes in so many different ways. It comes in so many different directions. And I have even found some, interestingly, I find answers on like Reels on Facebook. Now, I'm not a big Facebook user. You guys, I don't post. I lurk, and I watch when we're on vacation. I see what Paul has posted. But there's a person now that I follow, and I look most mornings. I want to go and read this person's recap of yesterday's interesting news, all with a particular perspective that matches mine. And that gets me there. And you just finish that, and the next thing you know, there's some beautiful little golden retriever puppies and a couple of pretty, there's something down there. And the next thing you know, you're looking at it. So I was taking a new medicine and thinking that maybe I was having an effect on my mood. I was feeling kind of blah, maybe even verging toward what might be depression. And here I am, and right away, never stopped on something like this before, I hit a person, and she is talking about the exact thing that I'm concerned about, taking the exact medicine. Now, she probably was selling something I didn't buy, but what she did was validate my experience and explain to me what was happening. Voila, I knew what to do. Now, this is not necessarily a health issue, but I'm going to give you another example just because it's interesting. I don't have to consciously go out there and say, I need this particular guidance. Earlier this week, I was in my closet, and I'm looking at the shoe shelves, and I'm thinking there's some jumble and tumble on there. And there's some vertical space available, and I'm thinking, well, could I find some more shelves and maybe get a couple of new shelves in there? And I know from a couple of years ago that the system I have in my closet has been redesigned, and it's not easy to get the pieces and parts anymore. So that wasn't just a simple put it on the Home Depot list. I just thought about it. Didn't really do anything else. Yesterday morning, there I am. I've read my friend that I want to read, and right away, I don't think I've ever stopped on organizing or even seen a reel about organizing, but there it is. Somebody with a very expensive organizing system, all pretty, and their little wallets go here, and the purses go like so, and the belt. And then there's the shoes, and they're on these little stacky things, right? I put a shoe under and a shoe over. And that's what I've got, is all this vertical height. Now, I didn't buy her system, but Amazon delivered one just like it to my door last night. I'm going to go home and rearrange shoes today, right? So it's not even that we're having to fight and force and perfectly describe, right? It's just you start living in this place, and you let a need out there that you kind of just even vaguely knew was a need, and answers come if you're paying attention. Okay, so that's health, and another example. And then there's relationships, right? Now, relationships are going to work better if you're letting your inner wisdom come out in your actions and words. We know that. I'm leading a workshop the first Sunday in July that talks about what's steering your life. And I got news. If your emotions are steering your life and there is no input from spirit, you are going to have a crazy, wild ride. Maybe you want a crazy, wild ride, but if you'd like a little bit smoother ride, come to the workshop. It isn't a lot of healing, though, in relationships, or even just finding them in the first place, really about letting this loving spiritual self come out to play. Sometimes we tend to think of wisdom and guidance as though they live up here, right? Well, I'm talking wisdom, I'm talking guidance. But think about it. When we talk about inner knowing, and I noticed I was doing it earlier, when I talk about inner knowing, where do my hands go? go here, right? They go to the heart space, not the head space. So if the heart area is where we touch our inner knowing, doesn't it seem true that we would want that kind of wisdom troubleshooting our relationship challenges? Everything that guides us and our partnerships and our life that best serve us, and how those partnerships serve us and how we serve into the partnerships we're in. And then what was that fourth area? Oh yeah, wealth, right? The supply of all we need to do what we would thrive doing. All the resources we need to thrive. That's what wealth really is. The supply of money, of course, because we have agreed on this particular form of energetic exchange, and it's a lot easier to cart around and move, now we don't even have to carry it around, than cattle and sheep and seal skins and some of the other things we used to call wealth and exchange with one another. It's also, though, so much, it's creative ideas, right? A creative idea may tell us our life work. A creative idea has value. And the supply and the connections and the support that are needed then to come into our lives so that we can use these ideas and pursue this life work so that we can thrive. In spiritual economics class earlier, that started in January, there's a term that we all really liked. It's called wealthful. So we talk about making healthful decisions, and we know what that's like. Well, we know how confusing it can be, of course, because we get input of all sorts. You know, don't put anything in your body, put everything in your body, stack these things in, punch that. It's confusing, but we know that and understand the concept of healthful decisions. Well, we can make wealthful decisions too. Why not use that adjective? Even though my computer still wants to spell check that word. It does not like it. So, maybe you need to learn about that life's work. Do you remember the page that I read? Right? If you don't know what it is, ask. That was page 400 in here, right? If one does not know exactly what he wishes to do, he should treat himself for general success in whatever he attempts to do. Success, that's part of what we put under that wealth category. Treat himself for guidance into the knowledge of what would be best for him to do. The answers are there. We could apply that same kind of lesson to all big decisions. What are we going to purchase? Should I buy this? Should I buy a house? Should I move? We have some big decisions. We always have a way to start asking, what is right for me? So Candy and AI, with AI's help, created an image for the newsletter this week. And let's see, I got to make sure I'm even on. Which one's the on button, dear? Oh, that's the problem. This one. Sorry, took me a minute. Okay, so do I just do this and this? Yeah. I don't know whether you're going to be able to read that real well. It was in the newsletter, and you might have seen it or you might not have lingered. I can point out some things on it. I have a laser. Yeah. You know what? It shows on the wall, but I don't think it shows on the TV. Okay. Well, anyway, so the title at the top that cut off on this slide says, Navigate Your Life with Intention. Monitor what matters. That's what we're talking about, monitoring everything that matters. Take action, get back on course. Now, I found I'm pretty sure you're not going to be able to read. Yeah, it's just not. So lower left of that bar, what it says down there is what gets measured gets managed. What matters gets my attention. That's what the little saying is down there. And that's what we're really talking about here. That's why I presented this whole idea that we need to, what matters to us is worth measuring and paying attention to. And they, in the list, there's an overview is the first thing on the list, then well-being, and it has a heart, so I think they're talking about health. Relationships, one of the 4 categories. Down there a little further is finances, but they kind of broke the other out into some categories, and I want to mention them. Growth, purpose, fun, and joy. Well, by golly, that's got a lot to do with my well-being. So I'm all on fun and joy. And contribution, whether we're contributing to the world or not. That's getting on up on Maslow's hierarchy of needs, isn't it, that we contribute to the world. Then I'm going to move it. So over there, kind of center top, you can maybe see the 15%. That's an energy level measure. And what it says at the bottom of that one is your energy is low. Rest, recharge, and realign. So obviously that's one of the things we want to keep a monitor on for ourselves. How's our energy doing? And then in the next little box to the upper right there, it lists some things for life fuel. Now, AI being AI, I don't know how its brain works. So what's on there is sleep, nutrition, movement, and mindfulness. Well, that all has to do with our rest and relaxation, right? Those are things that we do want to keep up with. What I'm not clear on is whether they're measuring what % of our total is each of those, or that every one of those is in trouble, because we did tell it to have some problems on the dashboard. So, but these would be things that we want to monitor. And if we're not sleeping well, maybe our inner knowing knows why. Maybe because one of our relationships is out of alignment and we need to do something about that. We need answers. We need a clue, an idea. Our nutrition, we probably know more than we'd like about nutrition these days. Sometimes what you need to do is let go of a lot of that outer input, right? Listen to inside. What feels good? What's getting the reaction in me that I want? So, and then I had a note. Where's number 5? Number 5. There's in the middle of the lower set there. Look at that one. That looks like the stock market going the wrong way, right? There's something about that kind of chart that we all know it's supposed to go up. It's never good. It's never good when it's going down. In this case, they're measuring progress. And what it says at the bottom is momentum is slipping. Small actions create big changes. We forget this sometimes. I'm really bad about it. I want to go from 0 to 60 without ever passing 1 through 59. You know, I want tomorrow I'm going to get up at 3 hours earlier than I normally do, and I'm going to meditate, and I'm going to get all my exercise done, and I'm going to be and it's like it's an all or nothing kind of deal, right? As opposed to I'm going to get the glass of water when my throat's dry at 3 o'clock. That's my step for today, right? So progress, but this is a good measure. This is a good overview dashboard item, isn't it? What are our goals? What are we trying to achieve? What did we say was important to us? What did we say mattered to us? Let's measure and see how we're going. And if it's looking very dippy like that, we probably have a very good idea what we can do. And then right to the left of that, I'm sure you can't read those tiny, it says today's focus. And I thought, there you go. There's that way. How do I take these small steps? Well, I have some ideas what I want to do. And they've got a green check by be present and move my body, an X by make progress, which makes sense having just read the one next to it, and nothing on connect and choose joy. So maybe they haven't gotten to that step yet. But it's an idea. Even though this was just asking AI, do something about a life dashboard that's not doing well at the moment, it's really hitting a lot of important points, isn't it? A lot of ideas here about how we break things down. There's a compass to make sure we're in alignment. We've got a daily reminder that you are the driver in your life. And then right across the bottom, I thought, this is actually kind of captures a lot, because the first thing on there, it looks like one of our little search that's not a microscope. What is that thing? Magnifying glass. Awareness. Know where you are. Well, that's what this whole talk for 2 weeks now has been about. Know where you are. It's not something to feel good or bad about. It's simply information. All any of these are is information. Where do I stand? Know that. Then your intention allows you to choose what matters. For your focus, for your activity, for your steps, for your inner guidance, for your treatment, for your visit with I told you we have licensed mechanics here. Here's a licensed mechanic for you right here in this blue stole that can help analyze and take care of what you're finding. Take action. Get moving, get off the couch, stay in alignment with your own purpose, and then have an impact. Because maybe, isn't that the ultimate goal? even if it's our own life and our own happiness. But you got kids, you want to have a positive impact. You've got a congregation, you hope to have a positive impact, right? Everything, all of us have places in the world we want to impact. All right, so I'll just move on to get that out of our attention range. Go back to the on-off button. Hey, thanks. I should have checked it before I got up here. And I wanted to add one more little tidbit here. And that is back in this book. Like I said, this is really kind of an owner's manual. And I used to spend a lot of time in here. You could tell that, right? And I realized when I was looking, I'm not doing that as much as I used to. And so I want to hype it a little bit. And I spoke with another one of our licensed mechanics and said, "Are you aware of this? Have you read this?" "Oh, yeah, I forgot." So there's a section back here. Besides all the teaching, there's a little section in the book called Meditations for Self-Help and Healing. It's not super thick. It's that thick. All right. And these are very short. They have headers on them. And I just marked a few. I just want to remind you, if you can't come up with your own, there are places you can look and help. And I know we've got apps on the phone now. You can get positive statements. You can get affirmations. You can get meditations. But these may sound a little old school because Holmes was writing these in the 20s and 30s, okay? And he comes out of old school background. But that doesn't mean they're not powerful or true. Here's one: I do not inherit disease. There is no inherited tendency to disease or ill health. I am born of pure spirit. False ideas cannot be transmitted from one to another, and I am free from outer suggestion. My life is from above, and I remember that I was always perfect and complete. An inner light shines forth and frees me from the bonds of false belief. I came from the Spirit. Could that help you out some days? No overaction or inaction. There is no overaction or inaction in divine law, for everything moves according to perfect harmony. Every idea of my body functions in accordance with this law of perfect life. I now perceive that the action within me is perfect, complete, and harmonious. Peace be unto every part of me, and perfect life to every member of my body. I act in accordance with divine law. I am perfect life throughout my whole being. Love to the world. We send that out at the beginning of our service. My love goes out to everyone in the world. I do not exclude anything, for I love all nature and everything that is. My love warms and lightens everything that it touches, and it goes out into all places. The love flowing through me is a power to all who come into contact with it, and all feel and know what I love. Love within me is complete and perfect. Love within me is complete. We have a lot of wonderful tools. We have a lot of troubleshooting ideas. Consider some of these headers in here. Is your error code that you just read in your dashboard telling you one of these is the problem? Maybe you'll find a solution. Textbook. If you don't have one, let me know. Okay, so we're going to monitor. We're going to decide what matters. We're going to do something about the readings we get. We're always going to check in here because it's the place to look. And life is going to go all up and full and green. And that is how it is. Thank you.
Thank you for spending this time with us on Spiritual Wisdom Weekly from the Greater Orlando Center for Spiritual Living. If this episode supported you in any way, we invite you to stay connected. Listen again, share it with someone you care about, or simply carry what resonated with you into your week. Until next time, take good care and keep growing in spirit.